President Trump played a video montage of South African leaders targeting white farmers, and CNN still refuses to believe it. James Comey expects us to believe his beach art BS, and white liberal grannies are going off the deep end. It's time for my losers of the week, but first, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the show on YouTube at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. The show starts now. So the loving and tolerant left is coming absolutely unglued over the roughly 60 white South African farmers and their families the Trump administration granted asylum to. Now, they claim it's because those white South African farmers and their families are not being targeted for land confiscation, violence, and execution because the South African government says so, but also because the left hates white people, and the notion that white people who love and appreciate America would be allowed in, well, that really pisses them off. So this week, President Trump not only served up some cold, hard evidence to the left and fake stream media, but also right to the face of the South African president.
Excuse me, turn the lights down, and just put this on. It's right behind you.
A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of the revolutionary action. To kill! Come on, sir! Kill the poor! The farmer! Kill the poor! The farmer!
That montage was actually considerably long. We didn't have the time to play all of it, but you can imagine. Holy hell. President Trump had him dead to rights with that cute little montage of South African leaders explicitly calling for the elimination of the white farmers. Pretty hard to dispute it, but even so, fake news CNN, well, they did their best.
Cyril Ramaphosa brought his best diplomatic self to this meeting, but nothing could have prepared him for this multimedia ambush that President Trump laid out with video, with printed out news stories. This was a laundry list of debunked conspiracy theories. Some South Africans are telling me this is AfriForum propaganda. AfriForum is a white Afrikaner lobby group that's considered a white nationalist organization by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Everything, almost everything that President Trump said in the Oval Office is not true, was inaccurate, has been repeatedly debunked.
You know, the sooner the left and the fake stream media, leftist media, just admit they hate white people, the easier it'll be on them, because the mental gymnastics to recharacterize the obvious must be exhausting. Speaking of that, let's move to my next loser of the week, James full of seashell shiz Comey. What a friggin' loser that guy is. You know, he was fired like a dog for good reason by Trump back in term 1, and like a scorned teenage girlfriend, he never got over it. That, and he really wants to hawk his stupid book. So last week he posted this stupid photo of seashells he says he just stumbled upon, calling for the elimination, the 86ing of the sitting president. He knew exactly what he was doing, and it was all for premeditated attention. Sadly, the ruse worked. He's been on a seashell media tour this week, and it's about as nauseating as you can imagine.
You are back in the middle of a political firestorm.
Yeah, for walking on the beach with my wife. So I don't know how we ended up here. It never occurred to me that it was any kind of controversial thing, but that's the time we live in.
So take me back to the walk on the beach.
We were walking on the beach. We went to the beach to prepare for this week, which was the launch of my book, and to think about the book and to prepare to answer questions about it. And we were walking back towards the road, and we saw in the sand someone had arranged shells with numbers. And Patrice, my wife, said, "Why would someone put an address in the sand?" And I said, "I don't know." And we stood over it, and I said, "I think it's some kind of like political message." And she said, 86, when I was a server, she did a lot of work in restaurants, meant to remove an item from the menu when you ran out of ingredients. And I said, well, to me, as a kid, it always meant to leave a place, to ditch a place. I said, that's really clever. So then she said, you should take a picture of that. And I did. And I posted it on my Instagram account and thought nothing more of it until I heard through her that people were saying it was some sort of a call for assassination, which is crazy.
So funny. Just an assassination joke. Yeah, he was just walking on the beach with his restaurant lingo aficionado wife and stumbled upon a perfectly curated anti-Trump message in the sand. The guy is a joke and a fraud and a smug loser. I'm so glad our own Jesse Waters primetime Johnny called him out.
Why do you want an 86 Trump?
All right.
Director?
I'm not taking questions like that now.
Why would you
Just signing the book.
Why would you post that? Director Comey, how was your interview with the Secret Service?
You want the book signed, really?
Absolutely.
Okay, you got it, bud.
Can you sign my seashell too? Which beach is this that you're going to? You find a Kamala seashell, 8647. This is a politically charged beach, Director.
Well.
Good work, Johnny. But Comey isn't the only boomer out there with some major Trump derangement. My final losers this week are all the old, white, bitter, angry, deranged, psychotic women who are going berserk for Hamas, for illegal alien violent criminals, for God only knows what.
Stop it! I cannot live in peace! I will not be silent while there's a genocide going on! Hundreds are dying every day! Hundreds! I won't be silent!
We say no! We say no! We say no! We say no! Fascism's got to go! Got to go! We say no! We say no!
For those of you who didn't catch that, that was a love sign that was being delivered to the alleged violent criminal aliens being detained and transported in that van. What the hell is going on with these grannies? Too much time on their hands, reliving their hippie days? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's weird. Go home, grannies. And those are my losers of the week. Joining me now is founder of the Exodus Institute, Fontanilla. Thank you so much for being with me. I want to dig in to some of my losers this week, and we'll start wherever you want to start. Which one of those losers really sparked your interest most?
Angel Reese.
Well, Angel Reese wasn't on my list, but you know she is definitely a loser of the week. A lot of discussion about her. Actually, let's just go right to it. Let's get into Angel Reese here. I actually have a photo. I'm sure you're going to bring it up as well. A post that she made or a TikTok that she reposted or whatever about Caitlin Clark, referring to her as a scared white girl. Boy, if there's racism going on, I'm not so sure it's Clark towards Reese. Seems more like Reese towards Clark.
Absolutely. And if we reverse the races on this, we would be seeing this on CNN, on MSNBC. If Caitlin Clark had put a black girl post and called her out as a black girl, we would never hear the end of this right now. So obviously there's one race that's allowed to be openly racist in this country, and that is black women. It's
wild to me. You know, there was a lot of discussion over this. This goes back to the foul situation at the WNBA game, and you know, Angel Reese very mad that Caitlin Clark, you know, had a hard foul on her, even though it's been the reverse case more than once. Caitlin Clark has been absolutely beat up on in her career in the WNBA. But this goes back to that. And then there's been a lot of commentary, a lot of people rightfully pointing out that Angel Reese just seemingly hates Caitlin Clark. I think it's pretty damn obvious. This isn't just a rivalry in sports. I think it's pretty obvious that she just hates her. Just in general, hates the girl. Now, whether that's race motivated or not, I mean, I see just the blatant hatred there. But there's been a lot of people that are like, oh, it's not fair to say that. In your assessment, would you take away that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark?
Well, I think women are jealous of women in general. I think there's a lot of that amongst women. And then I also think that because Caitlin Clark is more talented than a male middle school basketball player, which we finally have a decent WNBA player, that they don't want to have a white woman as the face of the WNBA. And let's think about it. I haven't heard, I don't know the name of a single WNBA player for the last 10 years, except for Caitlin Clark. And now we know about Angel Reese because she's able to, you know, make these controversial statements and get onto the cereal boxes, but she's not that great of a player. And there's a lot of jealousy there, and they just don't want a white woman to be the face of the WNBA.
It's a little weird to me that we're at this place in 2025 because I can't think of a single sport where if it was a quote unquote white sport and there was a black athlete or a Hispanic athlete that was doing well and became the face of the league, I don't know any white person that would be like, no, unacceptable. Like you got Shohei Ohtani is basically the face of the MLB, Juan Soto basically the face of the MLB, and many others. And I don't see white people being like, no, that's our sport. Like, I just don't understand.
Venus and Serena Williams.
Yeah, I don't understand the animosity. Tiger Woods being fantastic at golf. I just don't understand why it's such a problem for the certain group of people in this country. If there's a white standout girl who happens to be a WNBA player, like, why is that such a problem?
That's because white people are nice. They just are. I mean, but I think we're getting to a point where I am seeing people getting fed up. And that's why we're seeing these viral videos of black fatigue. People are talking about black fatigue. They're tired of it. They're tired of seeing their race being dragged, the white people being dragged constantly by black people, and they're able to say these awful things and point out race all the time. Yet if a white person were to turn around and do that, they would get canceled. They would get fired. They would, face racial discrimination cases. And I just think I actually think it's time for white people to start calling this out more. And Caitlin Clark should, file a complaint against Angel Reese.
Yeah, well, she's never going to because Caitlin Clark bowed to the mob a long time ago. She
She
had to
did.
hail the black female players, which I think is so stupid that she did that. I mean, that's up to her if she wants to bow. They're still not going to like you, though. That's the point I've been making to her and many others. It's like you can do whatever you want. You can bend yourself into a pretzel to appease this group. They will always hate you. So best of luck in that endeavor. But at some point, you're going to have to wisen up. Question on that, too. There's been a discussion that really piggybacked off of that with the Ryan Clark RG3 dispute where Ryan Clark said, hey, RG3 couldn't possibly understand what Angel Reese is going through because he married a white woman. And, I can't imagine, to your point, if that were reversed. I can't imagine if you were picking on someone because they had a black wife. But what is your take on that? And why is there so much animosity for black men who marry white women? I don't see it when, white men marry black women or any other, assortment there. I don't see the same kind of hate.
In fact, it's the opposite. I've noticed that if a white man is with a black woman, he's praised. It's like, wow, you got a queen, all that. But if a black man is with a white woman, then he is absolutely dragged. And it's funny because as a black woman myself, whenever I see a black man with a white woman, I notice that the white woman will kind of get a little scared because she thinks I'm going to glare at her or something. So I always smile and I'm like, hey, what's up? Because I think she's used to feeling that tension from other black women looking down at her for dating a black man. Hello, it's 2025. Why are we against interracial marriages? That is just ridiculous. And I think that they're repeating the mistakes of our past. And it's unfortunate because I've never seen so much racism in my lifetime of being here for 43 years. And it's breaking my heart because we did so much work to get where we're at. And now I'm seeing one race, Black America, the 92% black women that voted for Biden, reversing all of that and making it so that America is once again going to be a racist country.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand it. I'm a white girl, so maybe I won't understand it. But I just wish that we could get past all of this and we could all just coexist. If you don't like someone, you can dislike them, you can have a rivalry, but it doesn't have to be based on race. I wish it weren't. Unfortunately, there are some people that just keep dragging us back there. It's really ridiculous. Speaking of people who are dragging us backwards, I want to play a little clip for you of Hillary Clinton's assessment of the patriarchy.
What advice do you have for the first female president of the United States?
Well, first of all, don't be a handmaiden to the patriarchy, which kind of eliminates every woman on the other side of the aisle, except for very few.
Lisa Murkowski. Liz Cheney.
Yeah, there's a few. Look, first we have to get there, and it is, obviously so much harder than it should be. If a woman runs who I think would be a good president, as I thought Kamala Harris would be, and as I knew I would be, I will support that woman.
That woman is such a beast. I just cannot stand her. Every time I hear her speak, there are a few people that actually give me the chills for all the wrong reasons. Hillary is one of them. What's your assessment of her assessment of the patriarchy?
Well, I think Hillary Clinton is the ultimate handmaiden for the patriarchy, if you consider what she was like in the 90s with her husband, who was receiving oral sex in the Oval Office from another woman, and the fact that she went after all of Bill Clinton's various accusers. I think if you are going to push for a oppressive patriarchal society, that is probably the worst thing that you could do as a woman to, contribute to oppressive patriarchy, right? But the other thing is, you know what? So what? Whenever I hear these kind of terms from the left or from Democrats right now, I'm just like, okay, sure, handmaiden of the patriarchy. That's the newest label you're going to call us. Whatever, I think at this point we're immune to their attacks, and we just need to keep pointing out their hypocrisy, which she is the ultimate hypocrite, and ignore them.
Yeah, we do our best to ignore Hillary. She just keeps popping up everywhere. I call her a Christmas fruitcake because she just will never go away. I mean, she's the worst, and she does it for attention. We, of course, know this, and unfortunately, sometimes we have to give her that attention. But hopefully it's just to laugh at her and just provide some comedic relief at how absolutely abhorrent she is. I want to talk about kind of going off of that and the patriarchy here. The left has no problem with the patriarchy if it's taking over women's sports. They love the patriarchy in that case because they bow at the altar of trans, of course. I'm wondering what your takeaway is on, we had a big Supreme Court decision this week. It was 7-2. And the two dissent in this particular opinion were, of course, Justice Jackson and Justice Sotomayor, an Obama appointee and a Biden appointee. And basically what all this was is there was a Maine representative who was censured and her voting ability taken away because she dared call out men and women's sports. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't take her voting capability away because she made a Facebook post that likey. But what is your take on these two female justices dissenting in that opinion?
Well, the Facebook post was just simply her posting a picture of a male that was in third place in a sport that became first place in a sport after he decided to become a woman temporarily or permanently, who cares, and taking the first place spot in a women's sport. And that is the post. That's it. And basically calling this out like, hey, this guy was third place and now he's first place as a woman. And she lost her ability to vote as a representative. She lost her ability to speak, in which I think now she still can't speak. I think she has her ability to vote again, but she still can't speak up. And, the left constantly says this, we're a threat to the democracy. We're a threat to democracy. But here they are, silencing an active representative that Maine citizens voted for. And so, these two women, I'm not surprised by their vote. Of course, they would have been persecuted by their own party if they did not do that, right? But it's just, again, they are the ones that are a threat to our democracy in silencing this representative for simply pointing out truth.
I want to throw a curveball at you and get your assessment. What happens if, and it probably already has happened, but I'm sure it's bound to happen at some point. What happens if you have a female athlete, and that happens to be a black female athlete, who loses a position, a scholarship, a trophy, an accomplishment to a white man pretending to be a woman? Where will the left outrage go in that situation?
That's a good one.
A black
I feel like
woman
the only
losing out to a white man. That's what it would be, right? A black woman losing out to a white man.
It depends on if the black woman is left-leaning or right-leaning, because if she was right-leaning like me, they would not care. They'd be like, good riddance, goodbye, you're done. You're not even considered black, right? But if she's left leaning, then I think they're about equal. I mean, I've said the only way to get the left to cheer for white men is for him to put on a dress and some lipstick and pretend to be a woman. And then they're like, we love you, queen, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know
So
what? I think
I would
that's
say-
strategic, actually. I think that's strategic. And, you know, I'm not the first one to say this, but there's been some discussion that you've got a lot of the people that are identifying as trans and all this stuff, they tend to be, and not in all cases, but they tend to be white liberals of privilege and their children.
Mhm.
That's the ones who have the children that are the trans, not all the time, but as a pattern. So it seems like maybe they have white guilt or they have privilege guilt or whatever it is, and like they want so badly to be victims. So like, I know what I'll do. I'll be trans because then I'm now in a protected class. To me, that seems like not only the reality, but the strategy.
It's also an excuse. People love playing the victim. It's an excuse for the tragedies of their own life that are their own life choices. So, you know, they're not successful white males. So why not be a girl? I mean, if you look at these older men that are now transitioning, you can tell they're just losers and they want attention. They never really did anything significant in their lives. And they're trying to find a way to have an identity. And honestly, I feel sorry for them, but I don't think they should have a platform. I don't think they should be a protected class. I mean, we can go into that. They should not be a protected class. Trans people that are delusional about their own gender should not be a protected class. Same with sexual orientation. Your sexual orientation should not be a protected class.
I just wish we could all just be who we are and maybe not trample on the rights of others in the process. That's a dream of mine. I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition. I want to talk about, let's take a little bit of time to talk about our own side here. I'm not a huge fan of Representative Nancy Mace. I will be honest with you. Maybe I like her policy positions. Usually, I agree with them. But the way that she behaves is not my favorite. I don't like people who seek attention for the purpose of seeking attention. But she's been on this crusade for a while now. Apparently, she was wronged by someone in a relationship, an ex-fiance or something, who took photos of her, which is horrible. I don't disagree that that's a horrible thing to go through. But she has now taken that personal experience and made it an issue for the House of Representatives, which I think is so weird. This clip this week was so cringy. It caught me off guard how cringy it is. I want to play it in case our audience hasn't seen it.
Today in my hearing, I'm going to dissect what that guy did to dozens of women hidden on a hidden camera and other devices as he recorded them with impunity, without their knowledge, without their permission, and without their consent. Patrick Bryant, I hope you're ready. I'm also going to be sharing some of the imagery that Patrick Bryant, that guy right there, took of myself and other women without our knowledge, without our permission, without our consent.
I just don't know why this is an issue that we all as a people need to care about.
Agreed.
I mean, isn't it bizarre?
It is bizarre, and she is bizarre. And I don't understand who voted for her. You know, I'm like, how did she get to where she's at? Because when I contacted my local Republican Party and was interested in running for anything, they discouraged me. And here we have this woman who is an embarrassment, to be quite honest. I mean, she has some good policy positions, but it's embarrassing. You know, she's for the left, they're laughing at her. And most of us on the right are cringing at her. And how did she get where she's at? You know, when there's so many other women who could represent the Republican Party in a much more dignified way.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, she just does these attention-seeking things, and you got the video from the CVS or whatever where someone talked to. I mean, it's always like about her, and I hate that. If you want something to be about you, be an influencer, but don't be a representative of Congress, and don't call yourself a Republican because it's embarrassing for us. Even if you do good work legislatively, I don't really care because it's overshadowed by your self-indulgence. I think she's so weird. Speaking of influencers, though, I want to get your take on this. This is a fun one, not political at all, really. There is an influencer, and it's always an influencer that does something like this, who brought a rotisserie chicken on the airplane, obviously to get attention. We know this, for content purposes. But what would you do if you were in a plane and someone pulled out a rotisserie chicken to eat next to you?
You know, it's behavior like this that's going to get more regulation on our airlines. Pretty soon we won't be able to bring any of our own food onto the planes. And personally, I like to eat when I'm on a flight. And this kind of behavior, if it continues and if people continue to get attention for it, which obviously she has, we're going to start seeing some airlines, we'll probably start with the more ghetto airlines, for lack of a better word, banning from bringing our own food on flights. That's what's going to happen if this type of behavior continues. And I mean, I don't really care that she did that. I mean, it's healthier than a lot of the food that you could eat. You know, it's better than a Chick-fil-A sandwich, I guess. But it's just this kind of behavior is going to lead to more rules.
Yeah, someone bringing a whole chicken on a plane. It's just too far for me. I don't really like it when anyone brings a food with a significant aroma on the plane.
Mhm.
Like, it's a lot for me to smell other people's food. And I think many of the problems we experience in the air are from people who act like that particular aircraft is their living room. And they take their shoes off and they put their feet up and they slam on the back of the chair and, you know, they stand in the aisles and it's like, it's just their living room and we're all just taking part in their living room activity. And it annoys me as someone who flies weekly. I've seen it all. And the rotisserie chicken, it's like, please. I want to go to the last thing, which is a new beauty trend. I would assume this is just for white women, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh, apparently it's a TikTok thing where women are eating an abundance of carrots and carrot products to turn their skin orange. I guess the goal is to make it tan, but it's turning their skin orange. Let's take a look at this. Footage of what the glow is. This is what you can attain if you eat an abnormal
Alright you guys, so
amount.
what actually is carrotmaxing? People all over the internet are saying that eating carrots once a day will give you amazing benefits. I actually did my own research on this and it actually says that there are some benefits. Eating real raw carrots once a day will give you a good tan. These people right here are kind of living proof that carrotmaxing actually kind of works. Carrots have also been shown to have face slimming effects. And you guys, I'm not one of your corny looks maxers. This stuff actually kind of works.
Okay. We know carrots are good for you, but there are people now that are having to go to the emergency room because they're eating too many carrots because they're trying to get that glow. What do you make of this latest just bizarre trend?
I love carrot juice. So, I mean, if someone's are they drinking gallons of it? Because
There are people that are going to the emergency room. Apparently, there's been an advisory now because people are taking it, of course, too far. You have to actually eat a lot of carrots to turn your skin orange. It's not just like a carrot a day will give you the tint that they want. You have to eat so many carrots to actually turn your skin orange. And now it's a thing.
you know, that we aren't responsible for other people's behavior, especially with social media. If you're going to post something, I feel like there's this where someone who posts, like, for example, Trump talking about, the left said that he wanted people to inject bleach, which was not true at all. If you actually look at the quote, there was nothing, he said nothing of the sort. If someone went out and injected bleach, that's not Trump's fault, right? So there's something to be said about, that these people are posting whatever, it's TikTok, you can't take things seriously. And if someone is stupid enough to drink buckets of carrot juice and end up in the emergency room, that's their own thing. That's what
I mean, at least they're not eating the Tide Pods anymore.
Exactly.
That was a thing. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on TikTok, which is why I'm not on TikTok. And I also just appreciate my privacy and my data not being in the hands of the Communist Party. But, another day, another stupid trend. I blame it on Gen Z mostly. Thank you so much for taking the time with me today and all of your analysis. I super appreciate it. Please come back soon.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Folks, that does it for this episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. Before we go, I do just have to say this. I wanted it to be a lighthearted show today, but I cannot finish the show without acknowledging the horrific, horrible, hate-filled attack in Washington, D.C. of those two beautiful Jewish young people. They were bound to be engaged. They were attacked, executed in cold blood. This is what happens when anti-Semitism is proliferated in our country and especially on our college campuses. My heart goes out to the entire Jewish community and everybody who has been impacted by this. Is absolutely disgusting. And I hope that AG Pam Bondi gets to the bottom of this. And this is why we are defunding places like Harvard and other institutions that allow this kind of anti-Semitism to run rampant. I just had to say that. But I will see you back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for a special episode to Gen Z, the job market, and how they can get their berries in a basket and stop being entitled whiners. Always great tips as we're in graduation season. You can catch full episodes of the show on Outkick and Fox Nation. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless from Nashville. Have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.